she actually came into the school wanting to confront other students that were having conflicts with her daughter.
We need to be more empathetic, understand children's challenges.
Things that are hurtful are not condoned, but we restore relationships.
Hey everyone, I'm Drew from Mothership, and today we are bringing you guys a special discussion on the topic of school bullying. Now, over the past few months, we've seen various reports of bullying surface. Some of these incidents even have videos doing the rounds online. Perhaps most recently getting attention were two cases at Admiralty Secondary School. One where a boy suffered a gash on his head after being hit by a bottle, and the other which tragically saw a girl take her life after being ostracized by her classmates. So what can parents, schools, and students do in light of these incidents? To share their thoughts on the matter, we have with us today Tan Chen Kee, Deputy Director General of Education Schools and Director of Schools from the Ministry of Education, Sean Ng, the Master School Counsellor from the Ministry of Education, and Joey Ching, Chairperson of the Parent Support Group from Admiralty Secondary School. So since we have Joey here with us today, let's start with the incidences at Admiralty Secondary School. Joey, what was the reaction amongst parents to these incidents?
Understandably, parents, they were concerned about the incidents, but they mostly wish to hear the other side of stories or a more balanced account of the incidents. As differ significantly from what we know and from the school environments that we so quite familiar with.
So in your role as the chairperson of the Parent Support Group, what do you do in incidences like this?
First, we calm them down. So we say, let's stay calm, okay? Let's wait for the schools to so-called share further details. And in fact, that the schools, within a very short period, they have really addressed and had a briefing to all the students, their teaching staff, and also issue a statement disseminated via the Parents Gateway and help us better understand.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe I can address this next question to Chen Kee. What were the steps that the school took with regard to the two incidents at Admiralty Secondary School?
Well, actually, for the first incident, which is the most recent one.
This is the one where the boy was hit in the head with the water bottle.
Yes. So when it happened, and one student hit the head of another with a plastic water bottle, the teacher immediately intervened. First aid was immediately applied, and concurrently, of course, the school called for the ambulance to come. And of course, then the rest is managing and supporting the well-being of the students. In particular, the student who was injured and who was out of school, the school kept in close contact with the family and also supported the student as he continued to recover from the injury. And for the rest of the school community is really just to explain what the circumstances are. And to be able to support them with the full facts and not just listen to a one-sided view. So that's the first incident. For the second incident, likewise, when challenges surface within the context of friendship issues, and they're non-trivial, you know, and with teenagers growing up, these things are important and these things impact all the students involved. So what the school seeks to do, or what the school sought to do, was to actually address the friendship issues and actually just support the student who, as you said, felt ostracized. And beyond that, also interact with the family and provide holistic support. But in the second incident, of course, with reference to each incident of a suicide, it's always complex and it's sensitive. And we always take utmost care to protect the confidentiality of the circumstances surrounding each concern, and we don't take liberty to share it in public. But just rest assured that actually the school did take the appropriate steps to support and to journey alongside the student and the parents and the family. So that's what happened in these two incidents.
Sean, I mean, typically what is the kind of support that counsellors will give to the student body in incidents like what we saw where the student felt that she was ostracized?
I suppose before we kind of answer that question about supporting either the student who is being bullied or the student who is actually engaging in bullying behaviors, I think it's important for us to kind of have an appropriate definition about what bullying actually is.
Okay.
So if you can just bear with me.
Please do.
I think in the past we have engagement with our academias, the experts within the field, and they share with us that typically you have to satisfy 3 different criteria.
Okay.
Number 1, the act has to be repeated over time. It has to be repetition. Number 2, there needs to be intentionality. So which means one party is set up to want to harm another party. So the intentionality. Number 3, there has to be a clear power differential between both individuals. So typically one that is wanting to exert the dominance and the power over the other. So while we are having a conversation about bullying, sometimes we are also very mindful not to so quick to label our students as either the bullies or the one being bullied. I think your question is about the support for our students.
Yeah.
Actually, regardless of whether the student is the one engaging in bullying behaviors or the one that is being bullied, supportive counselling does have a role to play in terms of sitting down with the student, managing that space so that they actually have an opportunity to talk about their experiences, and sometimes through that process, even problem solve on how they can manage the situation if there's a do-over. One of the things that I suppose we're also reminded of is some maybe members of the public may think that why are we going the soft approach, especially working with students who is engaging in bullying behaviors. There's also the other element of consequences. That the students who is engaging in bullying behaviors, there are also punishments that they will have to face.
Yeah.
But we coupled that with supportive counselling and a restorative approach so that they can actually learn from the incident.
I mean, you mentioned the definition of bullying there, and I suppose that that's something that schools keep in mind when it comes to like policies with regards to bullying. But I'm curious from a parent's perspective, when you hear that this definition of bullying, I mean, I'm not a parent myself, but I would imagine that, you know, if my son came back with a wound on his head, for example, it wouldn't matter to me what the definition of bullying is. It would matter to me that he's been hit on the head with a bottle. Yeah. Maybe Joey, if I could put a question to you about that, do parents care about this definition of bullying, or is it, you know, do they just mostly just care about their kid is in an incident like this and they want it to stop?
So we speak generally, not to any specific incidents,
Yeah.
but usually so-called when parents share their concerns, but we encourage them to view things from different perspectives, and they also can share with their children that it's very important to develop the skills that able to accept multiple perspectives. Because this is one of the important skills that everyone need to be equipped with. So when they enter the workforce, right, they can become a good team player. But a lot of times, they find out not even considered as bullying issues.
Okay.
Yeah, because children's teens, they usually enter the puberty periods. They are learning communication skills. Yeah, they are learning many soft skills.
Yeah.
And they are not perfect. So we cannot expect that teens, when they're still during this learning phase, right, we expect them to speak diplomatically like an adult, which we have really imposed a kind of unrealistic expectations.
Got it.
So sometimes we need to be more empathetic, understand children's challenges and difficulties, because not everyone is good at social skills. They take times to develop.
If it helps, let me just take you through how schools handle these.
Okay.
And alongside with that, of course, we engage parents, and Joey's views are actually very, very crucial because she holds the fort with reference to the parents. So Sean's definition of the 3 criteria, they help. They help because it helps us to actually understand what the situation looks like. But every incident is taken seriously.
Okay.
So the teachers don't sit around and go, okay, let's refer to what the master counsellor said. Is this bullying? Is this not bullying? Actually, every time an incident happens, schools take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And we take a very student-centric approach to it. And when there's an incident between two students or a group of students, every student in the group matters. So we don't label this is the bully, this is the victim, this is this is that. Because like what Joey mentioned, it's we help the kids to take perspective. We also take perspective. Every parent, like you mentioned, does not sit back and say, what are the three definitions? Every parent is just concerned about his or her child.
Yeah.
And we totally understand that and we totally feel for that. But as the school, we listen to multiple sides and then we ask ourselves actually, what is the key issue? Is it a misunderstanding? For some, it's misunderstanding. For some, maybe some of the kids need to learn a little bit more on communicating with a little bit more compassion, communicating with empathy or use of language, which they pick up from all over the place. And different situations are different.
Yeah.
And then the school takes an approach where we don't ever condone hurtful behavior. So we don't say, just make up and say sorry and that's it. We do not condone hurtful behavior. Okay. But we don't condemn to such an extent that there is no chance for reconciliation.
Yeah.
And that's crucial because we don't punish without restoration. Now, when there's physical harm that's involved, that is even clearer that we don't condone. But we seek to understand, we address it. If there's disciplinary action to be taken, we take it, but then there's always that restoration. And schools appreciate being given that space to do that. But it's when the adults come into the picture and with one-sided perspective, and it gets blown up disproportionately, while the school is seeking to reconcile and restore and rehabilitate, there's this additional set of processes and work that the school needs to attend to, which really distracts us and keeps us from the core work of supporting our kids and helping them grow.
Okay, we've already begun to zoom out, but let's talk less about the Admiralty secondary school incidents and talk more about schooling in Singapore in general. I'm curious to hear your perspectives from each of you. Is bullying becoming more of a problem in Singaporean schools nowadays than it was previously? Is bullying becoming more of a problem in Singaporean schools? Maybe we can start with Joey. Yes or no?
It depends on, because first, right, we would like to help parents better understand and what is considered as bullying, as shared by Sean. So that would be more helpful. Just like a lot of times parents mention about addicted to gaming, but how many of them is really genuine?
A real addiction.
Yes.
Okay. Sean, is bullying becoming more of a problem in Singaporean schools?
Drew, this is not a cop-out, but this is my response. I'm going to say no, but. And where the but comes in is we are realizing that over the last few years, we are starting to see more of the anecdotal reports of bullying that is done online. And this coincides very much with the introduction of smartphones and the use of social media over the last couple of years. Within schools, what we are looking at, again anecdotally within our own data, the bullying incidences have not increased. But the mode of bullying might have gone through some changes.
I mean, if you look at absolute numbers, and MOE, we do monitor some of these numbers, and over the past number of years, the incidence and the prevalence of bullying has remained low. We are watching it very carefully. We are watching not just the numbers, we are also watching the modes, and we are also watching actually the reactions to these cases that have been surfaced.
Okay.
And we are constantly asking ourselves, how can we better support schools, support teachers, as well as parents, to understand each incident and situation, and actually to go further upstream to build a more caring and enabling environment in the school.
Maybe I was naive to think that it would just be a yes or no, a yes or
You
no
wish.
question. But the Minister for Education, Chan Chun Sing, did say in October last year that he expected the number of reported online bullying cases to rise as awareness grows. And I guess we are living in a much more complex environment nowadays with kids who have smartphones and group chats and things like that. I'm curious to find out, maybe from Chen Ki and Joey, nowadays when everyone is so connected through social media, what can be done to help in a situation where bullying is taking place outside of school?
So let me deal with the offline environment. That means face-to-face.
Yeah.
If there's bullying that happens. Actually, the first thing to do is not to take a video and post it online. The first thing to do is to actually engage the school teachers, and actually engage with the processes that can help the situation rather than compound and perpetuate a single-sided view of things.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think even adults have this habit, so I'm not sure if kids will be much better.
Well, but we can always rely on the hope in the next generation.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's what we do. That's what we do in MOE, you see. We look at the younger generation and we do hope to support them in their learning and growing to deal with the social media environment that's their lived reality.
Yeah.
And ask themselves, actually, can I think before I post?
Okay.
And when I think before I post, then I ask myself, what are my channels for addressing the issue? Because if like you said, bullying is actually happening, we do want something to be done. So it's not about dismissing the incident, but it's about finding a channel that will be most effective. And for us, the most effective would be to engage with the school, engage with the adults, who then will address the situation rather than posting up something, having something with a 5-second clip without any context, without any explanation. And when that goes viral, it creates a disproportionate reaction to something which may not even be the full truth.
Yeah.
And that is something that we teach the kids, and we hope that through the kids, adults will also likewise come alongside and really say, this is not sustainable.
I mean, from a parent's perspective, right? Nowadays, I mean, bullying can happen in the comments section of a photo that someone posts on Instagram. What do you see as the school's role in an incident like this?
I would like to share a bit of different perspectives.
Yeah, please do.
Instead of, school roles, first we need to talk about parents' roles. Yes, yeah. Parents are role models.
Yeah.
How we communicate to others. Are we empathetic enough? And how we treat others, our children observe. Yeah, so that's why, parents, we always encourage them, like, need to be role models. Then at the same time, we encourage our children to develop critical thinking skills. Got it. Yeah.
Drew, if I could water in here as well, I'm connecting with some of the points that Joey is bringing up.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I suppose one of, adults tend to say that we live in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. I think it's even more so for young people, our students nowadays, especially in the cyber kind of context. It is very ambiguous, it is very volatile at times. And there's a lot of uncertainty to navigate relationships in that context. And I'm reminded, of course, if we look at it developmentally, our teens, our children, their prefrontal cortex has not yet been developed yet, or rather they are developing their executive functioning, their emotional regulation kind of skills. That's something that all of them are still going through in that particular phase of life.
Yeah.
There's also a development of what we call in MOE, social emotional competencies, self-awareness, the way that they manage themselves, we call it self-management, social awareness, relationship management, the way that they relate to one another. And it culminates to the way that they make decisions, and we call that responsible decision making. There's also one particular developmental focus, and that's more on the social cultural aspect. And I think we all appreciate that we all have very unique family backgrounds and family circumstances.
Yeah.
We all come from different family of origins. And that's also very important, critical way of our children actually picking up life skills, social emotional kind of skills as they kind of go through that developmental phase.
Yeah.
So I suppose we can also remind ourselves that this is a period of very tumultuous growing up period for our children and our teens.
Yeah.
Whether they are the students that have gone through bullying kind of experiences or they are engaging in bullying kind of behaviors, I suppose it would be useful for us to kind of remind ourselves the kind of developmental phase that they are in.
Can I ask as a counsellor, what are the kinds of things that you do to help students cope with cyberbullying?
When we sit down with the student in the safety of the counselling room, one of the things that we typically do is to do rapport building so that the student can be comfortable with us and be able to kind of share what their experiences are. From there, we may talk a little bit about help-seeking kind of strategies. We may talk a little bit about building, your repertoire of coping tools, coping strategies.
Yeah.
That really forms a lot of what we do within the counselling work.
Got it.
So maybe let me just give you a sense of how we're seeking to tackle this cyber concern, and it's real. And it. So when you talk about bullying, it's never just a single mode. Sometimes what happens in real life gets taken up online. So what is our thinking with reference to this? Because it's the lived reality of our kids.
Yeah.
The first area is actually that we try to go upstream.
Okay.
So it's education. A few years ago, when we launched the revised character and citizenship education curriculum, we built in very explicit teaching of some of the competencies that Sean spoke about.
Yes.
That's age appropriate. So that as children grow up, from primary 1 all the way up to the tumultuous teenage years, they actually build up the skills.
Yeah.
We then give them opportunities for them to practice those skills. So in school, in the playground, when they are young, when they are snatching the ball from somebody, how do they apply those skills? How do they negotiate? And this is where we actually also, especially in the primary schools, very actively engage parents to let parents know, don't fight your children's battle for them.
Okay.
Don't go into the playground and actually muscle your way through against the other children, because you need to let the children learn how to negotiate, how to read visual cues, and how to say, actually in this case, let me learn to share. But when the children are in the midst of the tussle, when the parent weighs in, the children then learn to say, oh, my parent speaks louder than yours, I will win all the time. Then you develop a whole generation that exhibits this kind of behavior when they grow up. So that's when they're young.
Yeah.
And we hope to be able to have that holistic approach just to teach them to play nicely. In education speak is develop social emotional competencies. But effectively to do that. And then when they go into teenage years, no matter how many skills they have, the hormones take over. Sometimes the impulsiveness takes over. And within the teenage years, an even more important mechanism is actually peer support.
Okay.
So with the enhanced, revised character and citizenship education curriculum, we are also very actively establishing a peer support system in every school.
Yeah.
So every school has that peer support system. So we teach the kids and the students how to watch out for one another. We also teach what we call upstanding behavior. Okay. The teachers are not on their private IG, walls and all that. We're not there. If we're there, they're gone.
Yeah.
Right? So, but the peers are in there. And when they find a comment that is hurtful, that's intentionally meant to put down, that does not, is not posted with respect, it's up to the friends to go, hey, call that out.
Okay.
That's not right. If I were to receive that, I would be very hurt. So let's not do that.
Yeah.
You know, and we want to cultivate that kind of an environment, both physically in school as well as online. And then we communicate very actively with parents and we say, this is what we are trying to do, and this is the education that we want to be able to provide for our kids. Now, when incidents happen, that's where we also then say, if it happens to you, first, there are standard protocols, screenshot, make sure you have the evidence,
Okay.
and then we encourage parents, don't overreact. Let the school work it through. Let the school work it through with the different students involved, and let's engage the parents, and rationally we tackle the situation so that things that are hurtful are not condoned, but we restore relationships so that we make for a better online environment.
Okay.
There is hope.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing a lot is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but is the message to parents tends to be, okay, be aware, but maybe don't get super involved and let the school take care of these events. Is that? Am I correct in saying that?
Work alongside with the school. We're on the same team.
Yeah.
And don't thwart the learning process. A lot of times, parents short-circuit the learning process by intervening directly, immediately.
So I remember previously when I was in the school, this primary school context, we were supporting this P6 student, and she was exhibiting kind of highly impulsive kind of behaviors, and there were a lot of kind of significant peer relationship challenges that she was having. And when we attempted to engage the parent, at that point of time, it was Mummy that were working more closely with the school. We found that Mummy's own sense of anxiety was also very high. And Chinky was mentioning about how come, why some parents might come in and almost to exhibit rescuing type of behaviors. There was one time I remember that she actually came into the school wanting to confront other students that were having conflicts with her daughter.
Okay.
We had to kind of sit down with her and really take her through a little bit about why that approach may not help. And we do realize, remember just now we were talking a little bit about family of origins. Mummy's relationship with anxiety was very, very high.
Okay.
And we also realized that there were some tensions between Mummy and Daddy at home.
Yeah.
And she felt that she has to be the sole kind of caregiver or the parent that has to kind of take care of the child 24/7.
Yeah.
We worked with Mummy, we sat down with her, we kind of directed her also to a family service center to get the help and support that she required. And we realized over time, her parenting mode and approach also shifted. She was able to let go a little bit more. I think more importantly, she was able to empower the child to actually deal with some of the interpersonal relationships challenges in the school a lot better.
I want to talk from the perspective of kids who may be labeled as bullies. Maybe I can start off with you, Sean. I mean, how do you normally counsel kids who, are accused or are engaging in bullying behavior?
I think right off the bat, one of the things that I at least try to do as much is not to use the word bully.
Okay, why is that?
I suppose I think over the last couple of years, we have a national conversation about our relationship with mental health, right?
Yes.
And I think over time, we have started to move away from labeling because that creates kind of a stigma. I do think that there are parallels to the way that we kind of manage students' bullying incidences. I often find myself using terms like the student who bullies, the student who is being bullied, instead of using terms like bullies or victims.
Yes.
And I'll bring in kind of the one of my ex-students that I used to support. He used to kind of share this, again, in the context of the counselling room. Mr. Sean, it is very challenging for me to change because it seems that I have a reputation of being a bully. Everywhere I turn, the students are saying that I'm a bully, and maybe some adults within the school context and within the family may use the word kind of loosely. And to him, it gives him fairly lower motivation to kind of want to change. Yeah. And I think that's an important reminder for us, is to sometimes change the way that we use the terms. It's an issue of languaging, the kind of nomenclature that we use, so that we don't unintentionally kind of pigeonhole our students into a particular mold.
Yeah.
So to me, that's probably one thing that we can kind of do differently in order for us to kind of tweak our mindset when we manage our students.
Yeah, yeah. And also, so what is the kind of support that is rendered to parents, I guess, who kids might be engaging in bullying behavior?
I think quite similar to the experience that I've shared earlier. I think a lot of conversation and engagement is required. In my own personal experience, I have experienced sometimes parents being a tad defensive in terms of justifying why their children might behave in a certain manner.
Yeah.
And I find that whether it's the school counselor or whether it's the form teacher, the subject teachers, or even the school leaders, sitting down with them, engaging them, providing them information about what has transpired, typically can be quite useful. Because once they receive sufficient knowledge, they are able to kind of have a better appreciation about what has been going on with their child within the school context.
Yeah.
Engagement.
I really do appreciate that you've sought to take this lens, the lens of the student who bullies. Because actually, especially with some of the events or the incidents that have exploded online, a lot of times the lens is just taken from the standpoint of the student who seems to be subject to certain behaviors. And there's a lot of reaction that is demanding for punitive action.
Yeah.
But we must all remember that we're working with children. We're working with children, and every child is precious. And every child has a growth pathway and a journey of growth that as educators we are committed to. So for the child who is bullied, we care, we support, and we actually nurture. But for the child who has been accused of bullying behavior, we also take the perspective of understanding. Of course, once again, I will say this again, we don't condone the behavior, but we don't condemn the child to a lifetime of being labeled as a bully. And then there's the third thing we do, which is to facilitate reconciliation.
Yeah.
A lot of times, long after all the hullabaloo has been blown up, actually, while people are still talking about the incident, the kids involved have become friends and moved on. But people are still going on and on online about this and that and the other. So that's why we always want to remind ourselves that we are working with children. And we want to help everybody grow, whether the child who feels that he's being bullied or the child that is engaging in such behavior.
Joey, I'm sure that you must have seen at least one incident where parents have been arguing amongst themselves about a case like that. But don't worry, I won't force you to elaborate on that. My question to you, I guess, maybe to round up this discussion is, as a parent yourself, what advice would you give to parents whose kids have been accused of partaking in bullying behavior?
I'd like to share my own personal experiences. Yeah. When my children, when they share with me about so-called their own personal experiences,
Yeah.
I stay calm.
Okay.
I stay calm. Because usually, right, I would like to find out more. Yeah, of course, as parents, it can be very painful to hear about, our children's being affected by a certain behavior.
Yeah.
But I always encourage them, look, no one is perfect. Everyone is imperfect. Not everyone is good at social skills or communication skills, so I share with my children. Could it be your friends, they gave a kind of so-called as a remarks unintentionally? Yeah, so sometimes we need to so-called, as I guided them, how to view things from their friend's perspective. So I always find that parents we need to stay calm and guide our children, view things from different perspectives, then we can create a very loving and caring environment.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
View things from different perspectives. I think that's good advice for both kids and for adults. I think that's all that we have time for today. Thank you so much, you guys, for being so generous with your time and your perspectives. Hopefully it was a very useful conversation for parents and kids out there.